views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individuals participating in the show. All persons described or mentioned in the podcast should be considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This podcast contains subject matter such as violence and graphic descriptions along with adult language, which may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
On June 6th, 1980, a 56-year-old man goes missing from his home in Tingley, England. 5 days later, he's discovered 20 miles away, deceased, in a place that baffles all explanation. You're listening to the Mysterious Bruce podcast, and tonight we bring you the case of Zigmund Adamski.
Well, someone instinctively tells you there's something not right. You know, you come across dead bodies all the time, it sounds like. What you do. And he was lying on his back, just staring up into the sky.
There's no disturbance to the call, you know, to say how he got there. You just can't explain it at all.
And it was being treated as a crime scene. I think everybody at that stage thought it was a crime. That's how obvious it was. Why would a man climb a stack of coal, lie down on his back on top, and die?
The body was that of a Polish emigre named Zigmund Adamski, a former miner who'd moved to the UK.
Welcome to a deep, dark, dank, moist basement somewhere in the bowels of Georgia. Well, Coach 'em, getting on up there closer to Turkey Day.
Listen, speaking of the bowels of Georgia, man, we toted a fucking ass whooping last night. Man, Tennessee got it fucking handed to them, didn't they?
I wasn't gonna say anything, but
I will.
When they scored that first play, I mean, that's typical this year. Everybody where I was watching was like, man, y'all going down. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Listen, all I'll say is this. When me as a Tennessee fan is like literally pissed off about an 8-4 season, because it will be, we'll beat Vandy. When I'm pissed off about an 8-4 season, that's a good thing, because I've been a Tennessee fan through some 2-win, 3-win seasons, man. I've been hurt in my life.
That's what I was going to say. A lot of people just don't understand. If you're a true lifelong fan of a program, you're going to go through the peaks and the valleys, and you're going to be disappointed. And then you can always look back. Well, you know, that one year, if we'd have beat them, or if he'd have caught that pass.
Well, like the year that they threw the Hail Mary against Georgia to beat them and beat Florida and lost Alabama, of course. But we beat our two biggest East rivals, and then you're going to fucking lose to Kentucky and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I remember that year, and I was like,
we could have been a 2-loss team that year. But you lose to Vanderbilt?
What?
You lose to Vanderbilt the same
no,
year
not you. What? Yeah, that's the thing. Well, hell, Eric Zier for Georgia. I remember going to senior day. I think I was a freshman in college. It was cold as shit that day for some reason. Anyway, he throws for something like 450 yards against Vandy, and they lose by 2 touchdowns.
Damn.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? What is wrong with us? But anyway, the reason I was saying do what is, so when we release our episodes, we release them on Spotify because of its way, whoever bought whoever. But anyway, it's now Spotify. You can put on there, like it has a default, what did you think about the episode? Sometimes I change it to, do you think she's guilty or innocent? Do you think they're alive or dead? That kind of stuff. But anyway, so the last 2 episodes, if you were not listening to them in order, the last 2 episodes, we branched out and did our first 2 conspiracies, and they've been pretty good, to be honest with you. I've gotten a lot of people.
I thought they were all right. I thought I kind of sucked, but
no, I think our Titanic and Olympic, everybody loved that, man. Even my mother said, "Hey, y'all might be onto something with that Titanic episode."
My mom didn't comment.
Man, look at you doing that.
Sorry. I love my mom. I miss her dearly.
But anyway, all right, so the whole reason I brought this up is on the Titanic Olympic conspiracy episode, I put on there, what'd you think about this episode? And we had a Miss Rachel Shackelford comment.
Rachel or Rusty?
Rachel. Sir, her name is Rachel Shackelford. And she said, love the conspiracy episodes. My favorite mystery conspiracy is the Montauk Project, which we've been kicking that around early, but we kind of put it on the back burner. She then this is why I said what when you were talking about football. Also, you guys are in Georgia. What do you think of the whole headless goats in the Chattahoochee River thing?
The what?
That's where I've not heard about no headless goats in the Chattahoochee River.
Goats? Like,
yeah.
Huh.
So, Miss Shackelford, if you're listening, I guess that's what we're doing over Thanksgiving is seeing if we can find some information about headless goats in the Chattahoochee River. Now, if you drink that water, you might look like a damn headless goat. I can tell you that. Despite what Alan Jackson says, you ain't skinny dipping and tubing down the Chattahoochee.
No, there's something to it, because all I did is typed in headless goats into Google, and the first hit, it populated in the Chattahoochee. Oh, it's about Santeria.
Oh, hey,
well, as you know,
I don't know about all that now.
Practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball. If I had $1 million, well, I'd spend it all. My cat loved that. Here, shut the fuck up. Mystery of the headless goats in the Chattahoochee. That is ripe for fast tracking, right? Maybe not next, but the next.
Yeah, because we kind of lined up the next because of Thanksgiving. We're going to release this you'll be listening to this on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And so
the next one happens in Georgia too, though.
Yeah, we may do a double whammy for the home state. Which there's a damn episode of brewing in our if you're not part of our Facebook fan page, we have our own chat group. You need to get your asses in there.
That's a weird one, bro.
Yeah.
How's the Rebecca Gould or Billie Jean Phillips? Which one was it tied to?
I think either it wasn't Rebecca Gould, it would have been Billie Jean because it's over there where Sheriff Baker was the sheriff for a long time.
And then, man, last night, as a matter of fact, I was at the Keesland Roberts Flying J in Resaca.
Somebody said that they had a tip that they were looking into on that, and I can't remember. It was about a week ago. I can't remember who sent it to us. Maybe your guitar playing roommate?
Yeah.
Yeah, so. But anyway.
The
Skog. So, ladies and gents, I think Coach...
No.
I said I think Coach has got some 5-star.
Because I'm absolutely giddy about these. One in particular, 5-star reviews. I'm telling you right now. It's hard to make me giddy like a schoolgirl, but I think this one did it. So let's read them, shall we?
Yes, let's do this.
From a Charlie Scott, 5 stars, favorite podcast, Heart. As someone that works a desk 9-to-5 job, this podcast is my saving grace. I've listened to many other podcasts over the years, but this podcast has become my go-to. The boys always stay so respectful and still keep it hilarious. As a fruity woman from a very homophobic area of the Midwest United States. It's nice to hear men with such big and accepting hearts. We've been shot at with BB guns, LOL. Keep up the good work. Well, I have a big accepting heart, and the doctor's very concerned about it. He's like, Mr. Coach, cardiomyopathy is no joke. I'm like, I'm just so happy. But that's awesome. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. We are very open and respecting.
Well, I was going to say, we screwed up, and we didn't mean to be disrespectful. It just came across that way, so we learned our lesson very early.
When? You talking about me?
Yeah, I'm talking about you. But I will say,
when you get specific hate mail from family members of a murder victim, it's going to change your way.
Yeah, it did.
It's going to change your thought process of how you approach things. It's just how it's going to be.
And that's back when we thought nobody was listening. So, but we realized real quick, somebody's always listening.
Yeah, we literally thought that maybe like 15 people that me and you both knew were listening. And then all of a sudden we get a hate letter from a fucking relative. Man, I felt bad about that for months. And I mean, I didn't insult the person. I was overwhelmingly complimentary of the person. But I did it in a very, very, not inappropriate, but in a way that
less desirable.
I could have done better. Okay, next. Lizzie Cottrell, 5 stars, favorite podcast. Been listening to Mysterious Brews podcast for a fat minute now, and I just love the way they tell stories and the humorous banter they add to each episode. I listen to their podcast in the car every day and after getting back from school teaching. That said, I also appreciate their personal teacher commentary every now and then. Golly, I mean, you think I'd like obey commas or keep the flow? I'm just like pausing in the middle of fucking sentences. Anyway, everything's better with a country accent. LOL. Love and appreciation from Maryland. I believe MD is Maryland, correct?
Yes, that is correct, sir.
Okay, good.
Good job.
Okay, and now thirdly, I may be biased. I'm just saying, but this is probably my all-time favorite 5-star review of all time, even with the redundancy. It is from a Coach User 2000 is the username. Hold on. Get a grip, bro.
Is he like sneezing?
He's sneezing.
Okay.
Don't interrupt me when I'm reading the fan mail. Anyway, from a Coach User 2000, like the name already. Where was this guy 20 years ago? 5 stars. Had Coach been this interesting more than 20 years ago, he might have had a chance of dating me instead of just a hookup. Love the pod. After years of listening on and off, I recently started binging from the beginning. And now I'm afraid to open my back door after dark. Okay, let's break that down.
Are we going to digest this?
Well, let's see if we can figure out who it is. A hookup, and then she.
Are you sure? Because there was that one time.
Hey, that was like, dude, he told me that I was special, and I believed him. Okay, it says Coach User 2000. So if we assume that 2000 is the year, then I know exactly who that was. That was because there was only one person to use me in that year. And she tried her best to make a man out of me. But she may have failed, but whew, buddy, did I enjoy it. She was amazing.
Well, there you go.
If she's listening, amazing.
So, speaking of the Billie Jean, I
still want to talk about my personal review, man. That's amazing.
That is amazing. But you know how we go like weeks?
Somebody had the bravery to see me naked and still able to listen to the podcast without throwing up. That's an accomplishment in itself. Well, granted, if it was 2000, I was pretty in shape. I was about 230, just slightly heavier now.
Lean, mean fighting machine.
Just so slightly heavier now.
What the hell? Okay, I got to stop, or we're going to hijack this whole fucking episode, and it's just going to turn into an Arkansas episode. All right, so tonight we are doing the Zigmund Adamski episode, and Zigmund Jan Adamski was Polish by birth, and
yeah, you don't say by that name. Who could tell?
I know that it was everybody was on the edge of their seat waiting for the place he was born, but yeah, like many Poles, he left during World War II and settled in England. His new home would be located in the West Yorkshire village of Tangley. There he would become a coal miner, and in 1951, Zigmund married Leocadia, or Lottie. Later in life, Lottie would fall ill and become confined to a wheelchair. Zigmund needed to spend more time at home to care for her, and he had his own health problems that he had been suffering for many years, and it had actually gotten so bad between her health problems and his health problems, he actually hadn't worked for several months. Now, he was born with a lung deformity which made breathing difficult. Add on to that he was a coal miner, and he's not doing himself any help in the 1950s being a coal miner. Now, he would try for an early retirement through his company, and at first the application was rejected, but I guess someone heard of his wife's illness, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, and someone at the company quickly reviewed the application denial, and it was actually accepted. The problem with this being accepted and him getting retirement benefits would be the fact that he would never see the acceptance letter arrive in the mail. Now, upset with the company's denial of his early retirement, family and friends stated that they knew unequivocally that he was not depressed and that he would not leave his wife or just try to start a new life. His neighbors spoke of how
it's so hard to start a new life. Just the idea of walking away, even in 1980, just walking away and starting a new life is it's ridiculous. It's not impossible, but hard. Let's just put it that way.
Yes. People were beginning to take more notice, I guess I should say. But anyway, his neighbors would talk about how, devoted he was to his wife and how devoted she was to him. Now, around 3:30 p.m. on the sunny afternoon of Friday, June the 6th, 1980, Zigmund set off from his home on foot in Wakefield to the local shops and vanished off the face of the earth. Earlier in the day, he had been shopping at the same shops with his cousin and her son who were visiting from Poland. Now, that afternoon, the trio returned to Zigmund and Lottie's home and sat down for a fish and chips dinner, proper fish and chips dinner. Zigmund was enjoying his cousin's visit and was also very excited about the next day. According to family and friends, he was going to give away his goddaughter at her wedding. Now, he had a speech specifically prepared for the occasion and would not have let the couple down for any reason. So, like I stated, around 3:30, he just announces that he needs to go back into the little village shop, which is a couple of 100 yards down the road, to buy some potatoes. He grabs his jacket, and the jacket is his wallet, driver's license, and some change, and he's out the house. On his way to the shops in Wakefield, Zigmund would speak to his neighbor who was washing his car. The neighbor would state that everything seemed copacetic and just same old Ziggy.
Yeah, so just essentially a normal day
Correct.
for everyone, including him.
Yeah.
Until it wasn't. Dun, dun, dun.
That is correct, Coach. When Ziggy did not return home that evening, his wife Lottie contacted the Wakefield police to report him missing. Despite an intensive police search as well as an appeal in local newspapers, the authorities' investigations were coming up short. It was not until almost exactly 5 days later to the minute when Ziggy came back. It was Wednesday, June the 11th, 1980, around 3:45 p.m., when Trevor Parker, the son of a Todmorden coal merchant, arrived at his father's coal yard.
Curd merchants. You want to buy some curd?
So Trevor shows up to his father's coal yard, and he sees a man, air quotes, resting in a depression at the top of a pile of coal. Trevor had come to work that morning at 8:15 and was adamant there was no man in the coal yard, much less one on top of the...
Who rests on top of a coal pile, whatever?
What's funny is that's the way, because I kind of remember this from pre-podcast days, and that's why, I think that's what stuck out in my mind is I watched or listened to something, and that was one of the first things they said was like, you're not just going to go up there and lay on some coal. Well, according to Trevor...
Unless you're hammered.
That's exactly what Trevor said. Trevor said the coal yard was basically the rest area for the local drunk homeless population. They would stumble their drunk ass in, and they would take a nap wherever they may fall. On the coal, next to the coal, in the coal.
Where you fall, but this is a 12-foot pile of coal, man.
Correct. And that's what drew his attention when he came back that afternoon. Like I said, he would leave to run some errands, and when he arrived back to the coal yard, he saw something on that 12-foot pile of coal. Trevor stated that when he left, Zigmund unequivocally was not on the property, and he had purposely left the gates open to the coal yard, or I guess not open, but unlocked, just in case any coal deliveries arrived while he was out. As it happens, there were no deliveries that day. Now, Trevor was overly concerned when he first saw Ziggy's body at the top of the coal pile. The yard, like I said, was a well-known spot for the local homeless population to wander in drunk and pass out. So he's kind of like, shit, I got to deal with this again. So he kind of goes over there and looks at the top of the coal pile, sees a man laying face down on his belly in a brownish suit. He said what struck him odd was there was no coal dust on the suit or the body. Trevor, however, had become covered in coal dust just from climbing up there to see if the man was alive. As he reached down to see if the man was asleep, and as he rolls him over, he is overcome with fear and runs off the pile and immediately calls for an ambulance. When the ambulance attendants arrive on the scene, one of the men climbs the pile and rolls Ziggy over just as Trevor had, and he too is terrified at what he sees. He rushes off the pile and tells his partner, "Call the police, we have a murder on our hands." So the police arrive and find a dead man wearing a jacket, but his shirt was, and I've seen this different ways. So the way that I've kind of interpreted this is he's wearing a suit. He has like a button-down shirt on, but the buttons are like off. They miss button, like you're missing a button. You're not paying attention in your one buttonhole. You got one buttonhole too many.
Buttonhole. Yeah, one too many buttonholes, boy.
So then I saw that when they knew it was Zigmund, he wasn't wearing his shirt. So I guess he was wearing like a regular T-shirt type, or I don't know. Anyway.
So you're saying it wasn't the same outfit that he was wearing when he left?
Correct.
Okay. That's what you need to establish.
Yes. So when the police arrive, you've got this whole thing with the wardrobe. And the two police officers, or police constables, were Mervyn Haig and Alan Godfrey. And so they start inspecting the body, and one of them's inspecting the body, one of them's talking to Trevor, trying to get his side of the story. Trevor explains exactly what he found, how he found it, when he came to work that morning, all of the ins and outs. The ambulance attendant, Trevor, and both policemen all noticed strange burn marks on the back of Zigmund's head, neck, and shoulder. Now, what I didn't tell you was the reason that Trevor and the first ambulance attendant, ran off is because when they rolled him over, Zigmund's face was in a state of almost like rigor mortis, but he had seen something that literally looked like scared him to death. And his mouth was agape. His eyes was bulging out. Like he had had the shit scared out of him.
I mean, though I'm not disagreeing with that assessment. I mean, who knows what happens to a face when, you kind of lose control, I mean, I
agree, but I guess for the ambulance attendant.
For their theories of what happened and our theories of what happened, we're going to go with he was scared to death.
Yes, we are.
It just helps us so much if you think that he was terrified.
Yes. So they've noticed this frozen, terrified facial expression. They have these strange burn marks on the back of his head and his neck and one of his shoulders, I believe. And both the police officers and the ambulance attendants note that while he was dressed, it appeared that he did not dress himself. It appeared that someone dressed him and did a really shitty job at it. Now, they also, when they're examining they see the burn marks, they see this green, I've heard it described a couple of ways. Green, gloppy, gluish goo, but then I've seen it as like basically it looked like a green tinted ointment, but it was real sticky over the burn marks. So the body is transferred to the mortuary at nearby Hebden Bridge, and that night around 9:15, a postmortem examination was conducted by a consultant pathologist to determine the cause of death. From his examination, Dr. Alan Edwards estimated that the time of death was between 11:15 a.m. and 1:15 p.m. That is approximately 8 to 10 hours before they begin the autopsy. So he died basically while Trevor was on lunch break. Now, you would think that he was this kind of, it's almost like Trevor left the coal yard. The body was placed, and I do believe placed there. And then Trevor comes back from his lunch break.
Who placed it? Ooh.
Yeah. You have to stay tuned to the whole episode if you want to hear the rest of it. That might be
something we're going to get into.
That might be some foreshadowing.
Oh, see, I'm very, I'm literally intelligent,
So basically what we're trying to say,
I fucked that up so bad.
What we're trying to say is Ziggy's body had been in the yard for at least 2.5 hours before Trevor discovered him. So that is literally, Trevor leaves the yard. They put the body on top of the coal pile. Trevor goes, runs errands, grabs some fish and chips at the pub, has a pint or two, comes back, finds him. But anyway, during the post-mortem, there were no major physical injuries evident. There were no internal injuries found. So that would lead the attending physician to hypothetically state that he had probably not died from an assault of any kind. There were, however, those curious oval-shaped burn marks on the left of the neck and also below the ear, and this had caused a slight loss of skin, brown discoloration, and like I said, a green, we're going with gluey substance ointment had been applied to them after the burns occurred. Now, Dr. Edwards was the attending physician, and he thought that the marks indicated contact with a corrosive substance, not it would have been a chemical burn, not a heat burn. But he could not ascertain what chemical would have done just small circular burns like that. Now, the burns, he said, were not minor injuries, and he was sure they were not the cause of death. They would have caused Ziggy severe pain and could have brought on a heart attack. So, with that in mind, the good Dr. Edwards decides that the final cause of death determination was, air quotes, natural causes, as he obviously died from heart and chest disease.
Yeah, I mean, totally normal to just have a heart attack randomly on top of a pile of coal.
Yeah, and we're talking, isn't it like, it's miles from where...
20 miles from where he disappeared.
Yeah. So he was on his way to walk 100 yards to a store to get some taters and come back, and he winds up dead on top of a pile of coal 20 miles away.
You think he called them taters?
Well, he probably asked if they had some mustard to go on them.
He's probably, he's Polish, but he was in England, so I'm going to say I'm going to the shop to get some potatoes.
And maybe some grey poupon, because, I do like the grey poupon on me fried potatoes.
That's just a horrible British accent by me, by the way.
It was, but I'll give you one. You're drinking a gummy bear IPA, so I'll have to give it to you.
Man, it was terrible. I finished it. So if earlier in the episode you heard this weird that was me
choking down.
It was awful.
Choking down the remnants of obviously a bad decision on his part. So even though Ziggy is found minus his shirt, which was never recovered, he had not been sleeping rough, as they say across the pond. And by that, his body showed that he had only 1 day's growth of beard stubble. So obviously he had been staying somewhere. And even though during the autopsy his stomach was empty, he was not malnourished. He was not dehydrated.
Well, it was only 5 days. Well, dehydrated maybe, but malnourished. I mean, 5 days?
Have you seen pictures of him, though? I mean, he's a gaunt son of a gun.
Yeah, he was already scrawny.
That's what I'm saying. It would have been...
If a scrawny man, how much more scrawnier can he get?
I mean, he could get sunken in.
That's true. That's a good point. I concede that to you, sir.
Anyway, basically, the autopsy just stated that they thought he was in good health minus his lung problem and obviously the heart attack, but his stomach was empty just because he had not eaten that day. They found remnants of food from previous days.
Gotcha.
So Dr. Edwards also found an abrasion on Ziggy's thigh and superficial cuts on both of his hands and his knees. Now, ufologist Jenny Randles, who has written more than 20 books on UFOs and the paranormal, including the Pennine UFO mystery, points out that everyone who has investigated the case remains baffled. Well, guess what? Add 2 more to that list because this isn't a head scratcher.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know a damn thing about this. What happened in this case?
Now, the Pennine UFO mystery is an investigation into a number of separate events that mainly occurred between June and November of 1980. While Mrs. Randles does not suggest that UFOs were responsible for the disappearance and subsequent reappearance and death of Zigmund Adamski, she does not dismiss the idea either. While the UFO theory seems wildly improbable, it is pertinent to include the reasons why the Adamski death was initially linked to this phenomenon. Phenomenon.
Thank you. That's probably going to be in my fucking head the rest of the night.
My wife does it to me at least once a week, so you're welcome.
Really?
Yes. Swear to God. Anyway, I love that woman. Let me just tell you, I love her. In the weeks...
Dude, no, let's just take a moment to have an Arlo wife appreciation moment because she's been putting up with yo ass for
24 years.
Jesus. I can barely stand to deal with you during the recording.
Much less live with me and listen to my cantankerous old ass.
And that poor woman has seen you naked, and that is not a sight
No,
to
that
see.
is not a sight you need to see. Even though if you want to, for $3.99.
Dude, like, you remember that girl like that? Cash me outside, how about that? You remember that girl? Man, she's making like fucking $3 million a month on OnlyFans.
Well, there's still the girl out there selling broccoli farts in a jar for $500 a toot.
If I need to get some manicured feet and just get on like Feet Finder. Any of these websites I could do to match my fucking salary and let me quit, I would 100% do
100. It. That's 100% right there, boy. 100.
That 100. One of them are hundreds.
That's 100. Okay, so
anyway, we're straying from the mysterious death here. We don't need to stray from that.
In the weeks leading up to Ziggy's disappearance, there had been numerous reports to newspapers and the police about orange fireballs and other unidentified flying objects, or as the cool kids say now, UAPs, seen across West Yorkshire, mainly in Bradford, Halifax, and Todmorden. While some of these sightings were explained as aircraft, atmospheric phenomena, flares used by moorland rescue teams, some remain totally unexplained, including a substantial amount which were reported after Ziggy's disappearance. In addition to all of this going on, one of the two police officers who arrived at the coal yard on June 11th allegedly had a close encounter with a UFO as well. During the early morning hours of Friday, November the 28th, 1980, 6 months after Ziggy's body had been discovered in the coal yard, the same Officer Godfrey was on duty in the early hours when he was dispatched to investigate bizarre reports of a herd of cows which had been seen appearing and disappearing all over a local councilman's estate. Driving down Burnley Road towards the location of the latest sighting, he saw what he thought was an overturned double-decker bus about 200 meters ahead of him. Believing it to be a shift bus for the local coal miners and thinking that a terrible accident might have occurred, he slowed down to observe the scene. However, on closer inspection, he discovered that the object was not a bus at all and that it was actually hovering 5 feet off the ground. He tried calling for backup but found that neither his personal radio nor his dash radio was working. Not knowing what else to do, he noted the time and began sketching the object. After completing the drawing, and he says that took all of 30 seconds, he looked up to find the strange-looking craft had vanished. Surveying the scene for any further sign of it, he suddenly realized that his car was actually further along the road than it was before, almost a quarter mile further. Upon checking his watch, he discovers that what he thought was 30 seconds to a minute passing had actually been half an hour. Time he could not account for. Later on, he would discover that the soles of his standard issue police boots were split at the toe in a way that suggested that he had been dragged along the ground. Now, shortly after returning to the police station, he asked a couple of his fellow constables to help him search for the missing cattle. The cows were eventually located in a rain-soaked field. The only access to said field was through a gate. That gate just happened to be locked. And with the recent rainstorms, the ground had become very soft. The strange thing was, there were no hoof prints to be seen. Just like Zigmund Adamski, the cows seemed to have been literally dropped there. Now, standard procedure dictated that Godfrey report his encounter with the strange object later in the morning when his shift was coming to an end. When he did, he discovered that another driver on the same road only 3 miles further along from where he was located had seen a white light and reported it to the Todmorden Police Department. 2 weeks passed with no further incidents, but the report of Godfrey's experience was somehow leaked to the press, causing himself and his department a great deal of embarrassment. And if you're not aware of the tabloids over there, they will crucify your ass. Just ask Meghan Markle and the little prince.
Oh, they will skewer you.
Yes.
Fucking Piers Morgan's a piece of shit.
Well, he is, but even the British don't like him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's a piece of shit. I just said it.
Now, despite being an outstanding officer with 2 commendations from previous police work.
2 accommodations in his IEP?
That's what I was, dude, that's exactly where I was going. I'm conditioned.
You better make sure his teachers are following that shit or you're not going to be in compliance, okay?
Well, and you can't get rid of him. If you're not giving his accommodations, you can't send him packing.
No, you can't, and we're getting audited. So the state's coming in to look at your IEP. So you better make sure they're.
I swear to you, every system does that shit. It's like now when your father gets home, now we're getting audited. Shut the fuck up.
Every place I've ever been, we're getting audited this year, so make sure your IEPs are good. I looked at one of my kids' IEPs, and every one of them for 10 years straight was like the same exact wording. Almost the same exact goals. I was like, okay, this is bullshit.
Yeah. Hey, dude, it happens to me.
That little kid, bullshit?
Yeah. Yes. I wish I had that soundbite. I may have it next week.
Bullshit?
Now, despite being the outstanding officer that he was with 2 commendations for previous police work.
There you go.
Officer Godfrey found himself being alienated not only by the superiors, but his fellow colleagues. With his once solid career now effectively ruined, he eventually resigned and left the force. From advice by the Manchester UFO Research Association, MUFORA, Officer Godfrey decided to be hypnotized to discover what had happened during the missing 30 minutes when he saw the strange light, made the sketch, of which he had no recollection. The hypnosis session brought to light that Constable Godfrey's astounding account of being taken inside an actual UFO and being examined by alien beings, which the aliens buried in his subconsciousness. It was so bad, the person doing the hypnosis had to bring him out immediately. There was that much trauma. He was afraid there would be some serious medical situations incur. But there is some things out there if you want to dive a little bit deeper into Officer Godfrey's, what he says, what they found under hypnotic regression. It is quite interesting. But when being interviewed about Zigmund Adamski's situation, Constable Godfrey stated that Ziggy's case had been one of the strangest cases that he had ever been assigned to. Regardless of that fact, and regardless of his own experiences that same year, he stated that he was somewhat unsure of whether UFOs had actually been involved in Zigmund's death, even though he would not rule it out as a possibility. Now, there are several reasons why Zigmund was connected to the UFO theory. He had obviously been somewhere during those 5 days, but no one had reported seeing him, and the way his body reappeared was very odd. It was found in broad daylight on top of a pile of coal without easy access to the top, and in the vicinity of a busy railway line. And I'll try to post a picture if I can find it again. They show the gate that the delivery trucks would come in and out of the coal yard, and literally it's your typical British gate. Like if the driver moves wrong and a train's coming, he's dead.
The typical British gait?
Road. Sorry.
What do you know about typical British gaits?
I watched the British Open, and when they play that one course, you have to hit it over the road because the road encroaches on
one episode of the British Bake Off, and you think you're fucking expert.
Actually, it was Top Gear, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you watched one episode of Top Gear, and you're like, the Queen. I got some opinions. You think you fuck with
Sharon.
Osbourne all of a sudden, which is a good show. The Osbournes Want to Believe on Max. It's a great show if you want to watch it.
The boys got something on Discovery or Travel Channel.
Yeah, it's on Max. That's what I'm saying. It's on Max because Max bought out Discovery Plus. Keep the fuck up with the conversation.
No, I'm trying to tell you it wasn't on Discovery Plus, dick cheese. It was on Travel, which is probably still owned by Max, but it was on Travel, so boo.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's on Max. We're agreeing, but we're arguing. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, happens all the time. So no one had reported seeing anything odd during the hours that Zigmund had been missing. Any effort to place the body in that particular location would have been damn near impossible, not to mention a very hard and cumbersome task. Almost certainly, if he was placed up there by individuals, they would have left footmarks on the coal or some type of indentions in the coal in the immediate vicinity. And it would have been foolhardy and pointless for anyone wanting to dispose of a body in the first place to put it on top of a fucking pile of coal in the middle of the broad daylight. Now, the idea that he had simply dropped from the sky seemed just as likely as any. And that's where we're headed. We should also consider, however, where and when he went missing. Had Zigmund Adamski disappeared during the hours of darkness, it would be more understandable. Many hundreds of people go missing at night, but it was early Friday afternoon in late spring when Ziggy set off for his potatoes, and so it seems even more astonishing that no one saw him after he passes his neighbor's yard who's washing his car. Now, Zigmund had been described as a loving family man, with no
family man, whoa, black man, family man,
with no known enemies. Although dogged by bad health, he had a lot to live for. He had been a prisoner of war.
So what you're saying is no matter what happened, it happened in broad freaking daylight.
Yes. Both incidences. He disappeared in broad daylight and he reappeared in broad daylight.
That's insane to be,
right.
How could, I don't know. Oh, that's,
if we're just plucking people out, yeah.
That is a mystery. Somebody should do a podcast
about it. They should. Now, Ziggy, like I said, had...
First of all, I just love the fact that you're just saying Ziggy.
Because it's so much easier to say Ziggy than Zigmund.
It's such a good, shortening of a name, instead of Richard. Richard, every Richard on earth got dicked around, no pun intended.
With their nicknames?
How do you get dick from Richard? I don't understand.
I think that was Nixon, to be honest with you.
No, there's no way that Nixon was the first dick.
Probably not, but there's a high probability.
Okay, I made myself laugh for some reason.
Killing me.
That was funny to
me.
That was funny to me.
Ziggy had bad health.
Here,
that's right. His wife had bad health. But like I said, he had a lot to live for. He had been a prisoner of war in World War II, escaped the concentration camp of the Nazis, remarried.
Who else had him?
Remarried and worked in England, only to die in one of the most mysterious cases that we've ever discovered. Now, some 25 years after his death, the British UFO Research Association, or BUFORA, interviewed members of Zygmunt's family and found that he had not in fact, been looking forward to his daughter's wedding. There had actually been a family feud during this period, and the female relative had moved in with Ziggy and Lottie. This relative had taken out a restraining order on her own husband, and things were very non-copacetic between the two. In light of the new information uncovered by Bufora, two prevailing theories have taken hold in this case when it comes to the whereabouts of one Zigmund Adamski during the 5 days that he was missing.
Well, don't keep us waiting.
One theory is the Bufora theory.
Oh.
That's the British UFO Research Association, Bufora. And it states that they, as a entity, had come to the conclusion that Ziggy had actually been kidnapped by the female relative's husband, who was staying with them, and held in a shed where he had been tortured with battery acid and had finally suffered the fatal heart attack. Now,
That's awful. No, like battery acid?
It is plausible that when Zygmunt died, the crazy, disillusioned husband panicked and dumped the body at the coal yard. However, this leaves a plethora, wink wink, of unanswered questions over this explanation.
Well, the coal pile was not disturbed other than the man on top of it. So if another man is going to carry him, and why are you going to carry him up a 12-foot tall pile of coal?
If you have kept a man in a shed, torturing him with battery acid, and yeah, I got a mouthful of marbles, battery acid, and no one has heard his screams, I'm pretty sure you're not just going to go find a coal yard in the middle of the day next to a train depot. I may be wrong. They may do things different in Britain. I don't know. But anyway, so by all accounts, Zygmunt was actually a neutral party in this whole domestic incident with this family feud between the female relative and her husband. So if he's neutral and he's not really, he's just kind of sat over there and kind of grunted and ate his potatoes, why would you kidnap him?
What? I wouldn't. I'm not a kidnapper, though.
Right. What could have...
He's not a kid, bro.
What could have abducting him possibly achieved? Moreover, Zygmunt had obviously been without certain articles of clothing on his person at some point during those 5 days. But why and what was the green gluey ointment found on these burns? Why had it been applied, especially if we are running with this theory that this crazy ex-husband had wanted to torture him? Why put ointment on burn marks? Like Coach said, why was he dumped on the top of a coal pile during broad daylight? Why was he not hidden in a more inconspicuous location and under the cover of darkness? How did the person who dumped his body manage to not leave a single trace of themselves having been there? And finally, why was no one ever arrested or charged over the kidnapping? The answer to most of those questions kind of puts that theory a little bit dead in the water. The second theory that many people believe is the UFO angle. More directly, the alien abduction angle. Basically, it is centered on the fact that extraterrestrials, ET, they come down, they abduct.
Wait, from the movie?
Yeah, he left little Reese's Pieces. That's how he got him up on top of the coal pile. Just saying, man. I told you.
There's a big Mandela effect about that. It's like he never said ET phone home.
I know. I'm pretty sure my parents, who kept every toy we ever had and it's in their attic, has something ET, and I would damn near bet it says ET phone home.
It don't, man.
I know.
He never said it,
Never
bro.
said it. Never said it. But anyway, so
He never said it, man.
if we're going with the alien abduction theory, he's abducted during his walk to or from the market on June the 6th. From that point, he is held in some kind of suspended animation, maybe. This would explain the lack of facial hair growth as well as the appearance that he had been eating. When he was pulled out of this suspended state, possibly for examination, he was so overcome with shock as to what was going on that he suffered a massive heart attack and died. This would explain the rigor mortis shocked face like he had been scared to death. But the abduction theory fails to answer why Zygmunt's wallet and watch have never been found. What would extraterrestrials want with an Earthling's wallet and the watch?
Well, they understand the concept of a pawn shop, dude.
That is true. That is true because in Men in Black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I forgot all about that. So if you do,
you have any idea how much that stings?
If you do believe in this theory, you have to admit that most alien abduction cases, while they are extremely frightening to the party involved, and at times cause the abductee to experience mild physical discomfort, the abductors are usually benign and calm the fears of the person being abducted by telling them, we mean you no harm, everything's going to be okay.
They're never going to abduct me because they don't want to deal with the mess I'm going to make from my fear.
That's exactly right. Yeah. We did not realize you could have it coming out of both ends of that orifices. Well, guess what? It can. So, also keep in mind that most abduction cases, like alien abduction, and I can't even. They occur at night. Most people, it's the sleep paralysis argument. There's strange shadows, and then there's a bright light, and then I wake up and it's already daylight outside, and da 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 da. But anyway, this happens. Keep in mind now, they abduct his ass on like 100-yard stretch, 200-yard stretch from his house to the store. So, also, if we're going with the alien abduction theory, in this case, you have these extremely painful, it's what the autopsy doctor said, burns that have occurred on his neck, below his ear, and his shoulder. Could it have been an accident on the aliens' part? Like, did poor Zygmunt get the D-League aliens who just do shitty abductions, and they're like, damn it, we spilt it again and burnt the motherfucker.
Well, it could have been their experiments,
That is true. One thing that can help this theory is that green gluey ointment has yet to be identified by modern science.
Yeah, because it was alien ointment. They were trying to help him.
So,
duh.
Wow, and that would be my, if I was an advanced civilization and I abduct somebody, that would be my fucking luck. I abduct them, I do the thing, we tag them, we let them go, and then the one guy that I put some burn ointment on has a fucking heart attack and dies.
Your alien administrators observing you.
And they're like, you killed him, you stupid bastard.
Like, you're not supposed to kill him.
Well, I didn't.
I'm going to have to mark this on your evaluation. You get a 2.
Yeah. You get a 2, sir. Next time I observe you, you better not kill one.
Sidebar, speaking of evaluations, Friday before we got out of Thanksgiving, I got evaluated by my administrator after one of my, if you don't know, I'm a severe and profound special education teacher, and sometimes things happen. So one of my students had an accident. He tried to go to the toilet, didn't. He got to the toilet, but didn't get in the toilet, which is fine. That is good for him. That's a great thing. He tried. But I'm in there, and, I'm very squeamish, so I'm like, ugh. I'm trying to clean it up. I'm like, ugh. And I, me being me, I'm trying to make my coworkers laugh. I'm like, I don't get paid enough for this. Like, this is insane. They didn't talk about this in the job description. Blah, 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 blah. And finally get it cleaned up after like 3 or 4 minutes. And I walk out. Who's standing there? My principal.
That's even better, man.
To do her evaluation on me. And I'm just like, somebody could have told me. I was like, how long have you been here? She's like, oh, about 3 minutes. And I was like,
long enough to see me scraping poopy off the wall?
No, I mean, she didn't see me. She just heard me. I'm just like, oh, God, I was just kidding. Those things I said, I was just playing.
We got to keep it.
She said, you did great. You know, I'm just, if you see on your evaluation goes above and beyond, you know what I'm talking about.
So you only got a 3. You didn't get a 4. You got to document. You got to have documentation for them 4s, boy.
I got to document the poopy cleanup.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. And, sir, I'm going to let you in on a secret because they're moving this way. If you want a 4, you're going to have to do a professional development on poopy cleanup.
Yeah. At my old school, at one of my old schools, it would have been like, well, you didn't have poopy cleanup written on your lesson plan on your desk.
That's right. That's right. It did not say on the day before Thanksgiving break that you would be doing poopy cleanup. I'm going to have to give you a 2.
Yeah, we really wanted to give you a 3, but
yeah.
Anyway, all right, we're getting too much into the education part, all because the person that gave us the 5-star review said they enjoyed it. We are fucking pandering pieces of shit.
We are. Now, like I said, the green gooey ointment has yet to be identified by our scientists. Whether you think he was abducted by some crazy relative's husband and held in the shed and battery acid dripped on him, or whether you believe he was abducted by aliens and they fucked up and the poor bastard had a heart attack, one thing that has to be asked is why would his captors dump him, regardless of who abducted him? Why would they take and put him on top of a pile of coal in broad daylight?
The only thing that makes sense is they just dropped him out of the ship and he happened to land there.
Right. That is what I'm going with.
I'm right. What are you talking about? Of course I'm right.
Now, there could be 100 of other reasons why Zigmund Adamski disappeared on that June afternoon, but whatever the explanation is, we have yet to figure it out. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here and tell you that him being dropped on, delicately placed on top of a pile of coal is my theory. That is what I'm going with.
Man, I'm just dropping every damn thing.
Dropping your cord, dropping your chargers.
I dropped every damn thing.
Everything.
Okay, I'm good now.
It's about time. Well, Coach, what you got going on there for your theory?
I really, other than like the possibility of aliens existing and abducting and killing people and dropping them in the middle of nowhere on a coal pile, if that theory is not true, I have nothing. Like literally nothing. Nothing.
That's what I was going to say. That's the only reason I'm going with that theory, because I really don't think somebody's going to keep him alive in a shed, dropping battery acid on him, have enough compassion to feed him, shave him, and then scare the shit out of him and put him on a coal pile without leaving it one iota of evidence. And what were you doing? Just have him in the bed of a truck or in the boot of your car waiting on the poor bastard to go to lunch at the coal yard so you could just run up there and dump him down? While I know that they do state in just about every YouTube video that I watched and article I read that was a place where the homeless drunks would come and sleep it off, the way that it was explained was they would just come in and lean up against one of those piles of coal, and then they would get up and walk it off looking like they were a chimney sweeper. But other than that, I'm with you. I have nothing. If we're not going with they dropped him from above the coal pile, I don't know what to say.
I have nothing, man. I'm just like here to say, oh yeah, wow. I'm not here to give answers, bro. because I have none.
I don't either. Not with this one.
No.
Not at all, I say. Not at all. Well, recommendations. I'm going with the Festivus for the Rest of Us meal this week. I'm going to recommend that you have that piece of pie. You've earned it. Or you get that extra slice of that honey-baked ham because Aunt Betty, she bought it.
I mean, fuck it, dude. Like, we're all going to the same place anyway.
Yeah, just get 2 pieces of ham, grab 3 rolls, and get a big old piece of pie.
What's the difference between dying at 84 or dying at 85? There's no difference.
No, I mean, what's the old guy's? I can't ever think of his name, but he says he always eats like horrible, like fried foods, starchy foods, and they're like, you should change your diet and get your cholesterol under control. And he's like, when I die, I want them to look at my coffin and go, damn.
I always think of the grumpier old man. He's like, what is this? He's like, it's light beer, Pop. He goes, I weigh 90 goddamn pounds. You gonna bring me this slopping foam?
I eat a pack of bacon every morning.
He said, every morning I wake up and I eat a pack of bacon. And then for lunch, I have a bacon sandwich. And then for dinner, and I usually drink and then he goes, wait, for a midday snack, he's like, what is it, bacon, Pop? He goes, yeah, that's right. A whole damn plate of it. And I usually drink my dinner.
Oh, Burgess Meredith.
All those doctors said I should have took a dirt nap 20 years ago. He goes, but they keep dying, and I keep living. He's like, what's the point, Pop? He goes, what's the moral of the story? He goes, moral? There ain't no damn moral. I just like that story.
Well, what about the guy that lived? I think he lived either in southern Alabama or southern Mississippi. He was the oldest World War II vet there for a while. He was like 102. He was a black guy. And he finished every evening with 2 fingers of Jack and a cigar.
That's it. 2 fingers. If I could stop at 2 fingers of Jack, I would not have like ruined every relationship I've been in.
Oh, those whiskey drunks, they hit a little different.
Yeah. Oh man. A little too real right there. Anywho.
Any hoodles. So what's your recommendation? Fuck it, have the piece of pie, or?
No. My recommendation is this young lady recently started talking with again, like completely as a friend. She's a great friend of mine. She happens to be an award-winning photographer. She's been featured in both the New York Times and the LA Times, being based in Podunk, fucking nowhere, Georgia. But anyway, super cool lady. She recommended that I watch this show called Naked Attraction on Max. Have you heard of this?
No, I have not.
Okay, the concept of this show is person comes out, she's trying to find somebody to date, and her options are literally naked. So like the first round, they raise up to show the crotchal area. And then
wait a minute, hold on. So can you see crotch down?
Yeah, from the crotch down.
Okay,
like,
I got you. Okay, I'm good. I got it. I'm good. I'm there. It's like I'm there.
You're seeing swinging dicks.
If you're a female, right? We're not in Thailand, are we?
No.
Okay.
If you're a female and you're into only males, which was the first girl, she was into only males, so there was 6 dudes, and you saw their swinging dicks. And then the second girl was a bisexual, so there were 3 girls, 3 guys. And like the first round, they show the crotchal area, and turn around, show the butt. She eliminates somebody, and then they raise it up till you see the chest area, and you see the boobies, which I'm a big fan of. I'm a huge fan of seeing the boobies. And it goes on from there, and it's weird because I'm like, she talked about it, and I'm like, okay, well, I just want to watch a guy pick out a girl, but I watched the first episode, and it's all guys, and I found myself like, oh, I just would eliminate number 5. Like what? Like what? Wait, what?
It's the whole Ron White. We're all a little gay.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, number 5 has to go like right now.
Oh man, that's every time something like I hear stories like that, there people are like, man, I got so into that show, I was like, I'd cut his ass. He's too sassy for me, that son of a bitch.
Like it's a fascinating show. Like, it is. It's the same. It's the same reaction I had to like back when I was married. My wife at the time wanted to watch RuPaul's Drag Race, and I'm like, no, I'm not good. I'm good with that. I don't want to watch it. And then, like, by episode 3, I'm like, honey, not with those shoes, okay? First of all, like, no, ma'am.
Oh, every time stuff like that happens, man, I think of that Ron White thing.
Absolutely. If you haven't heard Ron White's "We're All a Little Gay" stand-up part, do yourself a favor and give it a Google.
Give it a Google on the YouTube.
He's 100% right.
Yes, he is 100% right. He's also 100% right on the "you can't fix stupid."
Oh, absolutely.
If they're ugly.
He's also 100% right about the yachts.
That story, God. I saw one the other day where he was talking about his second wife's divorce lawyer that she had died unexpectedly. So he called the firm and asked for him, and I'm sorry, but he's passed away. He's like, oh, okay, and hung up the phone. Waited 5 minutes, called back. Sir, I just told you that he's dead. I know, but I just love hearing you say it. But anyway. All right, Coach, you got anything else for the lovely ladies and gentlemen out there in pre-Thanksgiving podcast land?
I just hope you have a good holiday, and I hope that, everything that you've ever wanted in the history of your life comes true.
Damn, that's awesome. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Deuces.